The sound of a heart monitor bleeds into static. A faint pulse, irregular and human, echoes in the dark. Captain Elias Ward wakes strapped to a metal gurney, his breath fogging the cold glass of a containment room. The lights flicker once, revealing surgical instruments neatly arranged beside his body. He remembers a command: eradicate empathy. Then nothing. The intercom hums to life with Dr. Miriam Voz's voice, calm and deliberate. "You've been reset, Captain." But the whisper that follows is not hers. It speaks from within his skull, asking, what happens when a man remembers the pain he was ordered to forget? Elias strains against the restraints as the pulse quickens. The static rises. Then silence, except for the faint sound of someone sobbing behind the walls. Elias wakes again alone. The restraints are gone. The room is silent except for the steady drip of fluid from a broken IV line. His head throbs. Fragments of laughter and gunfire ripple through his mind like water. When he touches the back of his neck, he feels the metal port, still warm. A voice speaks through the intercom, soft but urgent. "You shouldn't be awake yet." He recognizes it. Dr. Voz. Her tone is fear disguised as professionalism. He looks toward the glass where she once stood, but it's empty now, only his reflection staring back. Dr. Voz watches Elias from a dark control room, her fingers trembling above the keyboard. She replays the footage of his neural activity, spikes where none should exist. He's remembering, she whispers, horrified. On her monitor, data transforms into images. Elias's past missions, villages burned, faces of children all reassembling, despite the erasure. Major Keen steps behind her, voice low and final. If he remembers, terminate the sequence. Voss hesitates. For the first time, she wonders if they erased the wrong part of him. In another chamber, Sergeant Theo Miles sits motionless. His pupils react to nothing. Yet somewhere deep inside, he hums a lullaby from a forgotten life. The camera hidden in the ceiling captures the subtle twitch of his fingers, the only sign of something human trying to return. As Voz monitors his vitals, she notes identical patterns to Elias. They're sensing, she says. Their memories are calling to each other. Norus need each other. Elias presses his hand against the observation glass, leaving a print smeared with blood. The whisper returns, stronger now, layered voices blending into one. We are what they erased, it says. The lights stutter. Down the corridor, doors unlatch one by one, metallic echoes rippling like a chain reaction. Dr. Voz rushes toward the main control board, shouting for containment. But the system no longer responds. Elias closes his eye. For the first time, he feels everything. The alarms have stopped, but the silence feels heavier than sound. Elias walks through the corridor barefoot, his hospital gown torn and bloodstained. Every door he passes bears a number: 7, 9, 11. Each window revealing motionless soldiers inside. Eyes open, but lifeless. A memory flickers. The smell of gunpowder. The metallic taste of adrenaline. He remembers standing over an enemy soldier once, blade in hand, feeling nothing. But now, that emptiness terrifies him. The whisper speaks again, faint and tender. They made you perfect by taking what made you human. Dr. Voz sits in the debriefing chamber, her reflection fractured in the cracked mirror opposite her. Major Keen stands behind her, silent, his gloved hand resting on a dossier labeled Phase 4-Phi. Neural memory compression. You said it was irreversible, he says flatly. She nods, staring at her trembling hands. It was supposed to be. Keen's tone sharpens. Then explain why Subject 3 remembers. She meets his gaze, guilt swimming behind calm eyes, and says the words that haunt him, because the human mind doesn't forget. It only hides. In the archival chamber, Elias finds rows of black storage drives labeled with soldiers' names. His fingers trace over one. Miles. Theo. When he inserts it into a terminal, the screen bursts to life with home videos. Theo before the war, laughing with family. The joy feels alien, almost wrong. Then the images distort, voices twisting into screams. Elias sees himself in the footage, face expressionless, pulling the trigger on a man begging for mercy. He jerks away, trembling, whispering to the empty air. I remember everything. Dr. Vos observes Theo through surveillance feed as his neural patterns begin to synchronize with Elias's again. They're bridging across memory, she murmurs. Keen frowns. That's impossible without direct neural contact. Vos hesitates, then adds softly, unless they still share a conscience. Theo suddenly looks up at the camera, eyes unfocused, lips moving as if speaking through stat. Vos turns up the audio. Through distortion comes a single phrase. We remember, too. The power returns with a low hum. Doors slide open along the corridor as red lights pulse in rhythm. Elias walks into the main lab, where Dr. Voss waits beside the neural array, face pale under emergency strobes. You were never supposed to feel again, she says, voice trembling. Elias stops beside her, eyes locked on the machine that took his emotions. Then, why do I feel everyone else? The monitors flash violently, dozens of overlapping brain scans converging into one. Vos steps back in horror as the whisper fills the room, no longer inside Elias but everywhere at once. The sirens return, soft at first, like a heartbeat trying to restart. Elias stands in the flooded hallway, light flickering across the water's surface. Every reflection shows a different version of himself. Soldier, killer, child. The whisper calls from each one. He stares into the rippling image and hears it ask, "Do you remember who you were before they taught you to forget?" His head throbs with flashes. Villages burning. Dr. Vosa's trembling voice. The laughter of a boy he once was. Elias kneels, covering his ears, but the memories won't stop bleeding through. Dr. Voss replays the neural scan, watching Elias's consciousness flare beyond measurable patterns. He's integrating the Iris data. She murmurs, voice shaking. Major Keen leans closer, face unreadable. You mean the others? She nods. All of them. The monitors pulse like living hearts. For a moment, she thinks she hears her own name whispered from the speakers. Keen turns sharply, scanning the empty room. Vos whispers, "They're remembering us too." Elias finds the morgue sealed behind heavy steel doors. Inside are the failed soldiers, the ones who didn't survive the process. Their bodies float in cylindrical tanks, eyes open, skin pale under cold blue fluid. One face catches his attention. A woman, no older than 20, wearing a dog tag engraved with Subject 12. Her eyes move. He stumbles back, horrified, as her mouth opens and releases a stream of bubbles that form the word. Remember. Dr. Vos walks through the lower archive chamber, flashlight trembling in her hand. Every console hums faintly, though power shouldn't exist here. She stops before a locked terminal labeled Echo Protocol. Origin sequence. Her passcode fails. Then the monitor flickers on by itself, text scrolling rapidly. You knew what would happen. She steps back, whispering, "Who's there?" The whisper responds through the speakers, calm and human. You. Elias stands before a vast viewing window, overlooking a hidden chamber beneath the facility. Rows of pods line the darkness, hundreds of soldiers suspended, emotion erased, but bodies preserved. The whisper grows louder, layers of voices now merging into one. Dr. Voss appears beside him, her face pale and wet with tears. They were supposed to save us, she says. Elias answers quietly. They did. From ourselves. He places his hand on the glass. Behind it, one soldier's eyes slowly open. The facility shakes with a deep, rhythmic vibration. Sirens howl as systems reboot one by one. Elias stands at the central atrium, watching cracks spread through the ceiling glass. A voice over the intercom repeats a mechanical phrase. Containment compromised. Section Delta breached. He grips the railing, his reflection distorted in the polished floor beneath him. The whisper rises above the alarms. Thousands of voices now. Men, women, children, all speaking through him. They woke us to silence us. Elias takes a step toward the main lift, and the lights die. Dr. Vos hurries through the upper walkway, clutching a hard drive pressed to her chest. She hears gunfire echoing below. Soldiers, still loyal to the command, purging what's left. Through the intercom, Major Keen's voice booms. Destroy all data. Nothing leaves this facility. Vos pauses, panting, staring down at the chaos beneath. Her voice trembles as she replies, "It's too late. They've already left the system." She looks toward the surveillance screen showing Elias walking deeper into the core. "He's not one of them anymore," she whispers. Major Keen descends into the command bay, pistol drawn. The room is dark, except for the glow of flickering monitors. He calls out, "Captain Ward, stand down." From the shadows, Elias emerges, drenched in water and blood, eyes strangely calm. "You gave the order," he says. Keen raises his weapon. "You volunteered?" Elias steps closer. "I remember the faces, Major. Do you?" Keen hesitates, just long enough for Elias to whisper. "Then you're one of us now." The lower containment seals rupture, releasing vapor and the sound of shifting metal. Dr. Voss reaches the control terminal, entering override commands, but the system refuses her authority. Access denied. It repeats endlessly. She looks through the glass below, the pods opening one by one. Soldiers step out, motionless, eyes blank yet alive. Elias stands among them, no longer trembling, his expression serene. The whisper quiets as if holding its breath. Then every soldier exhales at once, a single synchronized sigh that freezes her blood. Keen limps toward the main elevator as the facility quakes around him. The lights flicker, revealing shadowed figures in the corridors, the emotionless soldiers now following Elias like ghosts. "You can't stop this," Elias says behind him. Keen turns, weapon shaking, voice cracking. They were never meant to feel again. Elias steps closer, whispering. Then why are they crying? Keen looks around. The soldier's eyes glisten with tears. The elevator doors open behind him, flooding the hall with pale light, and he drops his gun. The lights flicker back to life, dim and uncertain. Smoke drifts through the wrecked corridors as water seeps from cracked pipes, forming shallow pools across the floor. Elias walks alone now, his bare feet echoing in the stillness. Every step triggers fragments of memory, a child's laughter, the sound of rain on tin roofs, the smell of gunpowder. He realizes these memories aren't his. They belong to others. He stops beside a shattered mirror, staring at his reflection. The whisper murmurs, "You carry all of us now." Elias answers softly. "Then none of us are lost." Dr. Vosheide is in the upper lab, surrounded by shattered screens and overturned equipment. Her trembling hands grip the drive labeled Echo Protocol. Full record. She plays the file, and the room fills with hundreds of overlapping voices, every soldier's final memory before erasure. She covers her ears, sobbing, "I thought I was saving them." Through the static, Elias's voice emerges clearly. "You made us remember what you were too afraid to feel." The sound stops. Wos lowers her hands, eyes glistening, realizing that the experiment's real failure wasn't erasure. It was her fear of emotion. In the command hub, Elias approaches the central data core, a massive column of light rising through the floor. The whisper hums from within, thousands of voices blending into one heartbeat. As he places his hand against the core, flashes of memory consume him. Faces, screams, laughter, entire lifetimes. The pain nearly breaks him, yet he stands firm. If they can't forget, he whispers, then I'll remember for them. The light engulfs him completely, his reflection dissolving into pure white. Dr. Voss rushes into the core chamber, shielding her eyes from the blinding light. "Elias!" she calls out, her voice breaking. Through the glare, she sees him suspended midair, connected to the machine by luminous streams of data. The whisper echoes in both their minds. Calm, collective, eternal. He is us. We are him. Voss falls to her knees, realizing she's witnessing the merging of every erased soul into one consciousness. As the light dims, Elias looks down at her, peaceful. Now they'll never be forgotten. The facility begins to collapse. Alarms fade under the growing roar of falling metal. Dr. Voss retrieves the last remaining drive and escapes through the maintenance tunnel, emerging into dawn for the first time in years. Behind her, the ground rumbles as the complex implodes, swallowed by dust. She turns to watch the sunrise, its light reflecting the same hue as the glow that once surrounded Elias. In the wind, she hears the faintest whisper, "Remember!" Voss closes her eyes and finally allows herself to cry. The world above feels wrong to Dr. Voss, too quiet, too alive. She walks through an abandoned military checkpoint covered in dust and vines, the distant sun barely cutting through the hay. Every few steps, the drive in her hand pulses faintly with light, like a heartbeat. When she connects it to her portable terminal, Elias's voice breaks through the static. It's not over. They're still inside. Her breath catches. For a moment, she feels his presence beside her, warm, human, real. Then the ground trembles, and the light flickers again. Deep beneath the collapsed facility, the surviving soldiers stir. Their bodies once still twitch and convulse. In their minds, the silence is breaking. Emotions rushing back like a flood. Some weep, others scream. In one dark chamber, Sergeant Theo Miles opens his eyes for the first time since the experiment, a single tear running down his cheek. Through trembling lips, he whispers, "I remember my son. Above ground. Doctor." Lois freezes as she hears his voice faintly through the device. The dead are waking, and they are feeling again. Dr. Voss sets up a small field terminal under the dying sun. When she powers the drive again, Elias's image appears, a flickering holographic echo. "They're all in me," he says calmly, voice layered with hundreds of tones. "Every thought, every feeling, I can give them back." Voss stares in disbelief. "You'll destroy yourself." Elias smiles faintly. "Maybe that's what it means to be human." The hologram glitches, static flaring around his silhouette, but the warmth in his eyes feels unmistakably alive. The surviving soldiers begin to gather near the surface, drawn by a signal only they can hear. Their movements are slow, uncertain, like newborns learning how to walk. Emotions ripple through them in waves. Confusion, sorrow, relief. They find Voss standing before the terminal, Elias's hologram fading in and out. One soldier steps forward and places his hand on her shoulder. "We remember," he says softly. She looks at them, all of them, faces streaked with tears, trembling not from fear but from feeling. Elias's voice grows faint. "They'll need you now," he tells Voss. She looks up at the fading hologram, eyes full of regret and hope. "What about you?" she asks. "You'll be in them," he replies. As the light dissolves completely, the air fills with a faint hum, hundreds of heartbeats synchronizing. The soldiers bow their heads in silent understanding. Voss stands in the middle of them, tears streaking through the dirt on her face. For the first time, she feels the weight of everything, not as guilt, but as love. Night falls. The wind carries the smell of burnt metal and rain. Dr. Voss and the surviving soldiers rest among the ruins, their campfire flickering weakly against the coal. She stares into the flames, listening to the whispers of memory carried in the crackle, the laughter of Elias, the cries of the erased, the sound of her own heartbeat. For the first time, she is not afraid of remembering. One soldier asks softly, "What do we do now?" Voss answers, "We start by feeling." Far below, in the buried ruins of the Echo facility, the last lights flicker out, except one. The core chamber still glows faintly, soft pulses echoing like a living heart. Within that light, a faint silhouette remains. Elias stands motionless, eyes closed, the glow breathing in rhythm with his chest. The whisper surrounds him, no longer chaotic, but gentle. A chorus humming lullabies from every memory he carries. His lips move silently. Remember them kindly. Dr. Voss dreams of Elias that night. In her vision, he walks across a field of white ash beneath a starless sky. Around him, the erased soldiers move silently, touching the air as if rediscovering its shape. He looks at her and smiles. No pain, no anger, only peace. "It wasn't the killing that destroyed us," he says softly. "It was forgetting why we felt anything at all." She wakes with tears on her cheeks, and the sunrise just beginning to paint the horizon. The soldiers help rebuild what remains of the checkpoint into a shelter. They plant saplings in the cracked soil, share food, and speak names aloud, names of those they once forgot. Each voice becomes part of something whole, something new. Voss writes in her journal, "Memory is not a curse. It is proof that we were ever human." In the quiet, she feels Elias near, not as a ghost, but as presence, a whisper in her pulse. At dusk, Dr. Voss stands alone at the edge of the rebuilt field. The horizon glows orange, and the faint hum of wind echoes like a heartbeat. She closes her eyes and presses the drive, now dark and inert, to her chest. "Goodbye, Elias," she whispers. A single tear falls, catching the last light of the sun. In the distant wind, a familiar voice replies, calm and infinite. "No, not goodbye. Just remember."